Hello and welcome to the FNCS Invitational. This is week number 2, day number 2, where the top 80 players in every region will move on to grand finals that are next week. I'm your host Zeke, and joining us for the show, we've got Shy Wager and we've got Ball at TW. We just wrapped up EU about an hour ago, and gentlemen, I think the only thing we should do here at the very start is talk about the results, because I think many people will probably be surprised by who made it in and who did not. The competition itself was very, very tight, and we had some time to talk about it in the green room, Bala. It's, well, I mean, right here at the top, we got Benji Fishy, man.
Up at the top again, Zeke, and last week it was just as dominant. It's close to 50 points between him and second place, and that's a quick and easy 2 first places week after week for Benji Fishy, and an extra $50,000 in the bag for him, but man, it was tough.
Yeah, so many more people right behind him. A 1-point difference between second and third place. We have Wolfies, the aggressive aggro player King, paired with Kiriachi in third, who everyone's been just standing over in this region now as a start to this entire overall invitational. We swap pages though. Mr. Savage up at 15th place. He's looking nice and strong.
And something, though, to note is Noah in 12th, dropped from first yesterday down to 12th after all was said and done, but still he turned heads, because before this, I really didn't know him at all. We're going to look at everybody up to 80th place just so we can get a grasp on who's here, because Scully made it, Airwax made it there in 27th. We have 4ZR, Milan, so many different names. Kura was very excited on Twitter after qualifying today.
Yeah, some silent warriors, such as the names of Vidil, Lazen, who we see in every single game, maybe not winning out all the way to the very end, but surviving there. Kaiser, mobile player Putrick, we know about him, now it's his new name, dubbed for life. We have Tiku, we saw time and time again. Yanis, so many people. There's Left Eye, Red Rush, Frey, Verox, CRR leading for the 31st total overall stack right now, all the way from top 50. I mean, Moki, a huge name baller to talk about as well.
That's right, but Shy, you can't forget people like Styler as well. You know, there's so many big names here. And now, on the other side, as we, congratulate all these people like Andalex, and Mage, Tomas, who have made it through, there's also players who did not. People like Nyrox, a world champion who ended 118th place. They didn't make the cut.
Yeah, I mean, Toos, another one of those names, but still we're looking at those who did, and they get another chance. Don't forget, it's not that they're down and out, not that they're not going to be in the grand finals. They can make it through to the reboot rounds. More names here. This is the cut. This is basically it right here, 80th place, and there's some names that should turn heads in terms of, like, they were this close, Zeke, to not making it through. Aqua, who is one of the best players in the world, placed 4th in duos and won the World Cup in duos as well. In 74th place, a strong solo player. That's not where you expect to see him. He just edged his way in.
That's right. We saw that for the last few weeks, right? It was always right there on the very edge. But thankfully, Aqua did cement himself and earn that spot on the Battle Bus. Now, as Bala mentioned before, we still have the reboot round. That is next Friday that is happening. Only the top 20 from every single region will join the 80 that have already qualified for grand finals. So that's something to keep in mind as we wrap up the rest of today. Now, of course, if you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. It's awesome to have you here. Hope you've had an incredible day. Let's go ahead and talk about the show itself and how it's going to be operating. Starting with the tournament format. Right now, we are in week number 2. Only a handful of games, 10 left in NA East to find out which 80 will be moving on to grand finals. As I mentioned not that long ago, reboot round next Friday. The top 20 will qualify for grand finals after 10 games. And of course, grand finals, 6 games, both days. And after that, we'll have ourselves a grand finalist, the champion of the FNCS Invitational. And don't forget, this is a global competition. We've got games running across all regions. Now, of course, we will only be covering very specific ones. That is only Europe and NA East. There's always a break between the two. So if you want to stop by, watch one or both, hang out with us. We like to meme. You saw it earlier if you hung out. Now, of course, guys, we should probably talk about the game format. How are players racking up these points? Victory Royale is worth the 33 points, but don't look too far, because second, 26, third, 22, fourth, 19, and fifth is still 17 points, all the way out to 75th place at 1 a pop, with every elimination being 4 points. So still lots of ways, even if you don't hit that extra point value from the Victory Royale, a second place will still help you climb those leaderboards. Now, guys, we got to talk about the region prizing. Week 1, 2, and Grand Finals has prizing on the line. Here is your breakdown for every single region. Now, gentlemen, I think it's about time to shift gears a little bit. Obviously, we've had EU on the mind, but now we should talk about players in NA East that we are looking to see, players that might be out on the edge of the bubble, even players we see that are performing and have been performing well. Shai, I would like to come with you first.
I mean, for me, Tom kind of hinted at it. I like this rivalry a lot. It's the Scoped versus Stretch situation that's going on all the way at the top of the leaderboards. I think right now Scoped is leading the entire pack of NA East coming through, at least for today. So we'll see exactly how he looks up on towards day 2. But it's going to be a toss-up, man. So many good players in NA East.
That's right. Now it's time. We're getting ready to hop into the first game out of NA East. Take us in, Bala. Take us in, Shai. Let's get it rocking.
It's time, day 2 and the final day for players in week 2 to try to qualify for the grand finals on the first go. Otherwise, you're going to be falling down to that reboot round. Hopefully, you can get one more chance at it. But for now, we're looking at players trying to edge their way in, but also at the top. You mentioned Stretched. You mentioned Scoped at the top of the leaderboard after day 1. So many different people are going to be fighting for this because it's actually very close. In NA East, it is ridiculous. The top 5 is spread across by 13 points. And to put that in perspective, that is 3 eliminations plus the top 75 place. That is a slim margin.
That's the first, 5 minutes, not even maybe 2 minutes of the game. A drop spot battle gone wrong maybe sometimes, or gone right for a few people. We saw the big developments in EU and Misty Meadows, things happening all the way over at the agency. When these games finally start to teeter onwards to that 20-game mark, when everything's now down to the wall, you're desperate, you'll see 8 to 10 people maybe at a hot zone drop spot looking for a chance to pop off and make that difference up. With the top 5, it's not that different either. And right now, we're tuning in with Colazo already starting his sneaky strategies.
Oh my goodness. And we'll get back to the stakes of today in a second, because Colazo doing something that I haven't actually seen. You could edge your way in on the side of that building as if you're floating in midair there. Well done from him, but still spotted from the other side of the bridge. This is a very, very important fight here for Colazo. 29 builds. He did get those barrels earlier on, so his shields are fine. I'm wondering if it's the same on the other side.
It's what it's all about, but right now the SMG spray is actually going to carry him straight through this fight. Gets that player down. Obviously, that individual also not having enough builds. 91 players still left alive at this point. Usually, it gets a little bit more chaotic in the early game, but people are holding out every single time when it comes to a new region. Watching that first game, things are always stacked.
And we'll use Colazo as an example. 127th place in day 1, 76 points. He's got a ways to go if he wants to qualify, and I think he can do it. We've seen qualification moments from him, which have gone on his shoulders in the FNCS duos. So many clutch moments, back-to-back elims and endgames. He can make it work. So far off to a good start, but 127th right now. He needs to move up by 40 points. When we're looking at problem, launch pad off of the Shark, I'm guessing that there's almost certainty that this player has the card, has the grappler, has the AR. Otherwise, there's no reason. Oh my goodness! Wait a second. That is such an uncharacteristic mistake from Jade. You would never see him. I don't even know what he was doing. Was he trying to pop a shield potion? Or did he? I have no words for that. What just happened?
Had to be healing for some reason, but at the same time, that was like the big loot out of Shark. You have to know you're one of the hot topics of everyone in this entire region when you move first and have that grappler to use as well. Now it'll be all over. Problem. He's going to have the God Loot basically to play out this early game and the aim to boot as well. Dropping in from box to box, but if he takes this out fast, he might have a loadout that we don't usually see on a player like himself. Usually it will be Jade who has that grappler being used all the way in endgame. That'll change the way we'll see things later on. Right now for him though, it's all about surviving this fight. The player now knows exactly the tools that he has in his kit. The shield's going to be popped by both and the fight will be reset.
Now, problem, 4 points so far because of the elimination on Jade, and he's got the grappler. He can disengage if he wants to, but I'm not sure if this... Is it... Problem, what? Are you just finding, like, the easiest eliminations right now? That's 2 in a row, players just standing still. The common response to when you get beams, but it's easy for Problem. I was going to talk about how his journey was through Squads FNCS and give a little bit of a shout out to Reddit. the competitive Fortnite scene because he was on that team, squad mates who really showed up. But now we're watching controller versus controller roller, otherwise known as D-Roller, qualified through console FNCS against one of the PC controller players, one of the greats in AV, and AV has a lot of work to do for him today to qualify into the grand finals where we expect him to be.
Right now, Roller is going to be 4th overall in day 1. So he's got big momentum boosting after and behind himself, and big momentum in this fight too. Taking down AV like it's not even difficult whatsoever. Just an SMG spray out the back. No defense available from AV due to the angle. And this fight's done all the way at the Southern Hills. We tune in with Smack, who we haven't seen in a very long time, at least on the main screen, but it's been here around for decades even.
That he has. Didn't quite... Well, actually, I don't recall exactly where he placed in grand finals, but it was solid all the way through from him for sure. And just touching back on that fight really quickly, D-Roller, now known as SF Roller, he seems to have made that fight easy. And for somebody who came off of the console track, and the common thing that the community is saying is that, no, once these guys come out of the console track, it's going to be really hard for them to, you know, compete against the greats. And they're clearly showing that that's not true. Taking out AV in quick fashion, you said it looked easy, almost. And maybe he's making upgrades to his PC or situation as well as changing up his name, his brands. For now, though, he's rolling, that's for sure.
Saw how it was with Big 60 when he moved over to the Shark. Roller will do something very similar. And at the same time, Smacked is doing his best impression. But, you know, when we're talking about mouse and keyboard, the shotgun's usually what we end up seeing finishing out fights. That's what he'll do. And I mentioned another big keyboard warrior player, Mr. Commandment from TSM, who reigned the charts last week. And now he's here today, already landing over at placement. Hasn't actually got into an engagement just yet, but his loadout looks good to just keep trying to go around, hunt, land long-range sniper shots, and follow up with a few more tags. He came 7th in day 1. A total of 151 points, now 152. We saw with EU, it was about 180, 190 that you need to get to. So maybe one good game can already just boost Commandment up over to qualify for the top 80.
It's potential. I think out of the top 10, Commandment was one of those guys who could definitely finish over towards the first place after everything. For now, not too aggressive, just playing for the placement. He's got the 75 75th place in this game already. So 1 point accrued. Young Kalk very close by, and you see in the tweets, he is concerned about today. He is concerned about being able to hang on to his just barely above pace for qualifying on day 2 into the grand finals. For somebody who is an FNCS warrior, I would say. Not necessarily performing the cash cups, but when it matters the most. Starts off big with a 70. And that is what it matters most. This fight that breaks out between Kalk and I have to guess Commandment, who was behind him in this river. Nice white tags. No, it's not. It's grenades. And young Kalk starts things off indeed. And just to think back, by the way, now we're in the Solos Invitational. Prior seasons of FNCS in trios, it was first place for him, Zexro and Macwood. And then in squads, it was second place when you add the combination of Vinny. So this is somebody who's no stranger to the best of the best in terms of tournaments, the most major and prestigious tournaments in Fortnite.
And the last one that we had on the console track, we had Cartoon Paul, who played so well, placing at the top week to week with his dual partner Lupien, I believe. And he never actually missed top placement or hard games, so the experience he racked up before, remember, this is a player who, in squad, was kind of on the up and coming, became kind of a steward for console players, a place for them to practice. He made it, and just ran it the entire time during dual FNCS. Now, he'll be up against PC players once again, the storyline we keep seeing all throughout the entire map, all throughout the entire leaderboard, on the back end this time. Gonna be 1 point, looking for his next, but at the same time, this is game 1 for all these players. They're making sure their signature moves are working out. We saw Kalk with his cones. They're making sure they're using everything and leaving nothing behind. These 50 pots being taken, no. Actually, Paul getting slightly greedy will pay the big cost to Tabs G. who with Colazzo made moves in duo FNCS.
That was rough, man. That was double edit right from tabs. He drops the anvil right on his head out from the sky. Switching gears, reverse 2K to fight with Fernando. This is many, many different action points and fights breaking out all around the map. And we are down to 71 players now in the second zone. We're actually very, very close to what would be a Storm Surge game, but looks like we'll be fine for now because this fight should end in completion. And should end, although a Storm fight, yes, a big pump from Fernando onto reverse 2K. Makes it 70, no Storm Surge in this game, but ever so close, man.
Niddle's right on his heels. Doesn't care, minigun in tow, but the counter's there. The double shotgun back-to-back. Niddle biting a little more than he can chew. And now Fernando just gets 2 easy pickups to keep moving on. His players were just pushing him. He just had the shotgun shot lined up both times, and he's going to walk away with 12 easy points.
I believe the zone should overtake him, but has plenty of time. He can use the river, possibly catch a zip line. Looking at other names who's in the game, I see Graska in the back, says Lucky Pot G, but the big man on campus sits Unknown Army on Team NRG. He is already in a good position in zone. If I remember correctly, he was sitting around 11th, actually, as Zeke hits me with the chat. Appreciate that. It's helping us out with the placements. So good performance from him. And I think something that we've kind of missed in these, I don't know, more intense stages when it really is actually very difficult to make it through. Unknown, yes, online he's done very well, but I think the biggest thing, the biggest surprise out of DreamHack Anaheim for me, which I reference a lot because it's so topical going into these grand finals, so he didn't make it out of the open stage in DreamHack Anaheim. So redemption, I think, is what Unknown is looking for when it comes to solos.
And right now, in search of that, he's going to need a little bit of fuel. No ammo count in terms of medium. That means that burst AR in his inventory, that we see him use a lot of the times when it comes from box to box, endgame as well, won't actually be active, but maybe 4 bursts is all he really needs. 10 bullets now. Used half of them to start this fight, has the preliminary damage. The individual that he's fighting, though, did come out from Slurpy Swamps. That means the shields will probably be really easy for him to take over and pick up. Possible Slurpfish in the inventory. The zone is catching up, though, and these guys have to move up that big dam. And that's going to be its own entire task at hand. Possible zipline there to use. Unknown, though, is holding out. I don't think the launch pad covers that entire distance. He's going to have to finish this fight. This player's going to start to build up. Remember, just 7 bullets now. He has 2 bursts left. Is he really doing this? Unknown. Yes, going for the absolute playground build fight. This player finally connects over. Is trying to make his way up. Unknown is just following. His builds himself are also getting low once he gets up here. His opponent's finally made it to the top. He looks to still chase. That individual's used so many more materials, though. It's going to be Mega, who he's chasing down, and Class is right behind him, and he launch pads away?
What? So many questions. Unknown was in zone before he started chasing down Mega in that one. For somebody who has been criticized heavily in the past for storm fighting, but then consistently saying, I don't storm fight, I have to wonder what that was. And then an odd decision once you're out of zone, once you're on top. Maybe it was the fact that when he was down below the dam, there was nobody else to fight him. He's looking for another opportunity. This could be huge. Yes, it is. Flesh wound found, and instantly he's on the offensive, down on that wall, blocks one side, and he's in the box. Yes! He does chase down Mega, who landed right next to the player who just chased him for so long, and that definitely is a questionable, I don't know, questionable play on both fronts. Like,
His methods,
I guess Mega has to land there because the zone is going farther north, and you can see already the congestion up there. This is going to be one of the most stacked games we've seen so far in week 2 out of all the different regions that we've watched. Maybe.
I mean, I've watched you try to analyze him before. There's that famous clip of the man just shooting things out no matter what he does, and like, no pun intended, his methods are literally unknown. I can never actually have a tell or a read as to what the next play is going to be, and usually things just work out because the aim's just there for him to land with. Calg, though, another person, an FNCS champion, all the way from Trios, looking to hold out up in this box. We talked about all the people on this side of the zone. this specific mountain, this area, once that half and half chooses where it's actually going to be, it could be completely aquatic. We could have doom basically for a lot of these players on the low ground who are trying to make it up mountains. And on the mountains, there'll be big guards in the form of Young Calculator looking down for any possible chance of a free elimination. And there's one under Perplexity, who I believe at one point was duoing or playing with his brother Haz, or either trying to contest him all the way at the Shark. So these random threads boiling up in solos. Pandoosh walks by, old duo partner was J-Love, who I'm not sure is playing or tried to play in this competition. But Unknown will still walk by, building all the way from water. This is E11's Graska, who looks for more beams up in the sky, and it's Unknown who found another pad and tried to go up again, but could not actually survive this time. These things are just getting kind of weird, man. I'm not sure what is going on.
Yeah, definitely a couple positional plays that, to be honest, this zone is very difficult to play. The notorious Misty Meadows Lake water zone, and possible also this Lazy Lake mountainous area. I mean, yes, central on the map, but also means that congestion is going to be at an all-time high on this mountain range. Looking down on the lake, it is going to continue down and do that. Fourth zone kind of splits down on the lake with half on the island, the central one with the henchman in place, and then half by the waterfall. And I don't know how many times I've seen this zone, Shio, but too many to count. All I know is that it requires the most precision, the most accuracy and skill and position, as Tavs finds another one on the clutch, and he's going to go for the loot.
Maybe that's why the competition right now is so cutthroat. People know how intense it gets. You're not actually going to be able to look for a lot of eliminations once the zone gets smaller and smaller. A lot of these medium range shots that we don't usually get to see or have a POV of will be taken more often. Unknown maybe, letting that server rile up, take his bait launch pads basically. Had a nice strategy, but Tabs was also looking out at medium range, not really going box to box, and a lot of these fights are going to be that way. And right now Storm Surge is also going to be active in that next zone once it closes over.
Just to clarify, we just see the notifications. It's just an indicator of where you are before it starts to go active. Only 53 players right now, so highly likely that we will get down to the 50 required for Storm Surge not to go off, to deactivate. But still, it gives you an impression of what we're going to see in Grand Finals, or possibly even today.
This is a POV hunt, an individual that's at 146th place as of yesterday, taking out Problem, someone who needs to climb up the ranks and is not comfortable exactly where he is. He has a lot of ground to cover to get to top 80. And has the tools at his disposal, though, to do it. He has that drum gun, the pump shotgun, burst AR of the purple variety. It's going to hit hard and tough. And he's still playing box to box exactly where he wants to be, going on the aggressive. The one POV we see of this box diver right now, everyone else is still just trying to play passively. Just like Tabs G, get into where you need to go, base up, wait for the game to actually ramp up. No, Hunt will actually try to do it himself. Make people get uncomfortable, take over walls, has to slow down now, might try to play the element of surprise.
Uncomfortable is something I think is an understatement, because he only has 30 builds and he has to cross this lake. There are launch pads in play, lots of players already using that, lots of players already rotating, but also what we typically see is a lot of people waiting. Clicks there, Saf, whose name is God Pump. We missed that yesterday, but somebody who was 80th place for Saf, the reigning FNCS Duos champion, and also a strong solo player since the days back to Summer Skirmish. Remember him doing fantastic second place at the Secret Skirmish and first place in that Duos competition. So maybe Duos is his more desired mode, but still such a strong one. You talk about Hunt. He's looking right now for that launch pad. Yes, he takes out Carson. That's a really, really good opportunity to refresh. But man, if you're a little too late on these launch pads going forward, you're going to get beamed from the entire server. One more flopper. And is there anything else here? Yes, a couple more.
Four?
Actually, four more.
Five?
An entire stack. And he is going to launch pad in, but everybody will be looking at this unless he's so late that nobody realizes and they're all starting to box fight. He's going to dive right off that mountain, and he's good. He's in, safe for Hunt.
Yep. That was the case, and now he is exactly where he wants to be. Another edge of everyone's build. He can kind of push and prod in. to see if anyone's actually weak on these walls and these bases. A lot of people taking damage, as we saw on that rotation. And no one aware that this individual has the drum gun. That Hunt has the maximum potential to win out in these box fights. There's Fernando, who had such a good, momentous early game. 3 eliminations back to back to back. Hunt will be the main star right now, though, on a foot rotation already. Moving so early, getting right into a box that's trying to expand. Hunt takes over and now shares this. Symbiote
look at
basically in this box.
469 brick in that pile too that he just yoinked from the player who's trying to expand over towards the 6th zone before it starts to move. And Shia, we've seen this story before. It's Midas's drum gun. It's a player with 3 elims already and also an epic pump shotgun and plenty of materials. I don't know how many times, but all I'm going to say is that we're in for a treat when it comes to box diving and stair phasing. Yes, there it is! Oh my goodness, melted! And that's Nico, who was 2nd place yesterday out of nowhere, completely melted down. But at least he got towards top 40 in this game.
Now he gets to hold on to that drum gun, but all these other players are not going to have any foundation. This entire zone up into the water. If you're in trouble, your safe haven used to be low ground. That is not there anymore. Colazo will stay up high. Now trying to dive in box to box. So silky smooth on the overtake there. Gets a nice cone slide in. Gets a huge upgrade onto loot. A big stack of floppers as well. Now he chooses to walk forward with that heavy AR. Has a big say on long range, but right now his vision is nearsighted, looking box to box to dive in once again. That big golden pump in his inventory. He's staying secure. The zone's not moving just yet. It actually bounces back, so he has a little bit more time to think. But this person beside him might act fast again.
Colazo, we talked to him yesterday, and he said he wasn't necessarily the best solo player, but man, I've seen magic when he's put in clutch situations in other modes, and there it is. He gets bullied. Colazo looking to put himself on the Coliseum after all this, put himself at the top of everything. He needs to qualify through, and he was at risk yesterday, but with this play so far, 3 eliminations up in the top 12, very close to basically the best placement of everything in this format right now. He dives underneath and blocks the sight from up top.
There is a spotlight on him on this competition, but also from high ground as well. He's looking to kind of hide from that, make sure he plays in the proper shadows, and then strikes when the time is right, but no, takes so much damage trying to come in. Colazo still trying to move over. 500 mats now left. No more floppers. He's kind of locked in on his white HP, and his box is going to be Roller that moves through from early to late. Now he's sitting very healthy. 4 eliminations, 6 total people left over as well. It's Hunt on high ground who's controlling the entire lobby.
And so many people down below, Furious, Trashy, Nick, Aperta, but Hunt controls everything, and it is full on water and full on beams from Hunt. It's raining true, but he gets challenged from down below and loses the jump, but has the floppers to get right back up. Now top 3, the heals are there. I think we're going to see Trashy versus Aperta to go on in this 1 versus 1 down on low ground, and then Hunt might drop down and clean up, but they're targeting up above, and he might get knocked out. He has to re-heal again.
And still, there's no foundation down below. This is Hunt's kind of world right now. He just has to choose the right time to drop down. Roller is so low on mid, the worst position you can be in this 1v1v1. It goes back over. He gets taken out. Now, it is exactly what you said. Him versus Trashy, and Trashy gets the loot off of that elimination. It's now height versus low. There's a drum gun up there, and Trashy just has the water. No more builds left. The harpoon is there, though, to use. He's trying his best. Finally finds land. Is it the best thing, though? He drops down Hunt, and now Trashy, with his last breath, looks for the pump shot, goes towards the right. In storm, 5 HP. It's not enough. Hunt, from beginning to end, wraps up the competition, gains height, makes it to land, and boards a big ship of 61 total points to start day 2.
A big ship indeed, but guess what else has sailed? It's Roller again. The guy who placed 4th yesterday out of all of day 1. 4th place now on his first game, getting a 3rd place game. Zeke, that is somebody that I've got to keep my eyes on.
That's right, and that's something we keep touching on, right? It's like you don't need the Victory Royale to skyrocket up the leaderboards. Even coming top 5 is still a very nice, hefty amount of points. But taking a look there for Hunt and both Trashy, yesterday Hunt was 146th with only 71 points. Trashy was 168th with 66 points. And both of these guys are 1st and 2nd. and they've got the eliminations, they've got the points. That's a great way to start day number 2.
They're just rising up, man, and this is kind of just what happens when people want it slightly more, rather than the people who are just trying to hold on to what happened yesterday, right? So we'll see that balance maybe change in the more games that we're going to be watching coming up, but right now it's all about the people who literally just want to be at the top.
And for those guys, I mean, Hunt, we watched a little bit of yesterday, and then Trashy, somebody who we kind of haven't really seen on broadcast yet, but if you've been following competitive Fortnite, at least in the scrim scene, you've seen that this guy is a monster when it comes down to elite scrims. You know, the pre-DreamHack, most stacked scrims I think we've seen in solos in a long time. He was dominating, but just didn't quite make it through. Almost in duos FNCS had a breakout performance, but just shy of that. So after day 1's performance, Zeke, that you touched on, now, starting off strong here, maybe it's time for Trashy.
That's right. All the momentum they need right now. They need to make something happen because it is only the top 80 that will be pushing on to grand finals next week. Now, I'm getting word, gentlemen, the next game is going to be very interesting because much like games we saw not that long ago, yesterday, we have another game lined up that is actually happening at the same time, or did happen at the same time as the one we just witnessed. So that will actually help dictate some of the settings we will see after that game. But gentlemen, it's a pretty good start, all things considered. I am kind of looking for more. I feel like, I mean, I don't want to say like it's back to old NA East. That just sounds bad. But I'm just, it feels like first game jitters. Let's just go with that. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't feel like we're quite on yet.
I mean, we're going to be seeing these jitters happen again, basically, if you're seeing, or if we're going to be going to exactly what you said, Zeke, right? Another game 1, a rollout for all these players. We saw the bottom half of that leaderboard in this game. Maybe we see the top half of, you know, what we saw before, minus Commandment, because he wasn't that game in this next one. But definitely, and that'll shake things up because it's about the pre, during, and post sections of this game, the different mindsets you're going to have to be in, right? The post is what we're in right now. For players, it's about checking that leaderboard, comparing where you are, right? Especially if you're streaming too, we're trying to make content, there's more pressure added on. Your friend group's also trying to check in. It's a lot to kind of take in. You want to be able to be in a good headspace moving forward.
I do want to basically, if next game, basically what you're telling me right now, Zeke, is that it's going to be the first game for the other group of 100 players out of 300. So I think this one's going to be interesting for sure. Thanks for that, Zeke, as we get in the next one.
That's right. Take it away, gentlemen.
It'll be the Shark again that we watch in this game, and an early glide to it. Remember, Zeke promised us the big show. Does it happen and start an early game already? We see Einsight and Innocence in this game, taking out a few players. But we'll be tuning in with Kel, who breaks in from the underground section, looking to rise straight to the top.
Hopefully he doesn't lose, because what we saw from his duo partner, Jay, earlier in the last game was an inattentiveness and ending up getting beamed from one of the players on the backside of the Shark as he made his way out. So hopefully Kel can work with that and work with his experience here at the Shark, playing well. He does spot Sky. I'm wondering where the other player is. There's one on the Shark head itself, and then there's one down by the basketball courts above the prison. But Kel off to a good start with the Sky's loot, but that just means he's now a target for so many.
He's up the card behind as well, and I don't think he missed a single shot in that box. The SMG tracking almost otherworldly. I can't wonder why.
Hopefully he opens up the vault and backs out to the left. It's Nate Hill who's contesting him. Nate Hill did clutch to put himself up in a spot where he wants to be, I believe, in order to qualify for grand finals. It wasn't looking like that was likely after the first 5 to 7 of his games, but in the last couple he did make it through up to top 139. So he has room to work with. He's given himself space, a little bit of breathing room in a sense, because after week 1 he had to clutch in massive regards. He had to make sure that every game counted. He just barely eked his way in, I believe like 298 or something like that, and that's a rough spot where you have somebody back against the wall in the vault where you can't go anywhere, and you get stuck with an RPG, and now he's going to bounce right on top. Kel is here, and Kel will finish off Nate Hill in the jail.
I'm not sure if movement or, as Zeke put it, first game jitters there for Nate, but missing a lot of attack shots. Unfortunately, I think maybe could have actually salvaged that situation all the way towards the very end of that 50-50, but Kel, 2 players taken out, record time, now has the entire Mythic POI to himself. As we watch him loot out, I wonder what's happening around the rest of the map. It's Crims, who's also way by himself at the moment. Another first start for him during the day. He's also battling for that top 80 spot. He's actually going to be alone. Placed 155th overall the day before. 69 total points to move through into day 2. And he's got a little bit of a mountain to climb if he wants to make that top 80.
He's going to be running into somebody. I don't think that they know he's there. He's already looted the outskirt chests, and this is going to be a big beam. An opportunity for Crims. It's just one dink, though. A headshot, yes, but 66 shield damage is possibly not going to be enough. Now he knows that this player was full shield, and he knows that he is going to be trying to get healed up, especially now that he heard the sound cue. Switching the walls that he's attacking. Yes, gets the cone in, too, but misses the epic pump taps. Finally connects with only a 40, though. He's going to continue forward and makes this second one count as Void gets taken out quickly from Crims. They build fights. That will net him 4 points and some floppers, too, so he did the fishing for him.
I think I saw one shot get thrown out all the way from the other side of the map. That being said, working his way slowly up during the through the leaderboard, at least from day 1. Void was about 131st place, so we'll see exactly who Crims takes out next. Right now we're tuning in with Leroy. On that org, Talon, I believe another person that we watched, not sure if it was the Opens or week 1, but Talon Mouse performed very well, holding the top spot on leaderboards time and time again. We'll see how other players from this organization will fare up to his performance. Right now, 271st is Leroy, so at the lower end of the pack off of day 1, he's looking to rise right back up, and with 29 total points and 5 right now, he could actually just surpass his entire 10-game run that he had the day before with just 1 game right now. If he picks this up, this next elimination, just a third of what he accomplished yesterday will be done right now. Trying to break into the box, the SMG Classic in play, but getting traded out by the defensive Classic of the Pump Shotgun. Now Leroy will have to think about what to do next, but my thoughts will just go right back in.
Especially after he gets back up to 200 effective HP, but this player being very aggressive. He's actually going to let that happen, the wall and the cone. He gets placed into it, but thankfully there was actually the safety from the opponent's cone, which is not something you see too often. Now has the edit potential back on the other side. He lets the wall get taken again. Leroy does get some damage done, a quick phase. He's very comfortable in these situations when it's back against the wall. The piece control is going the other way, and he makes it work against Sully.
And the reason we might be seeing a little bit of unorthodox gameplay is because this gameplay is coming straight from a device we don't see too often. Leroy being a mobile player in this competition, taking out fights from people who are both PC, console, doesn't matter. They stand no chance if he's going to be playing that type of untrackable playstyle. Now Plague going to try to emulate the same thing, get advantages in box fights. A lot of mats available. These guys are going to be at the top left corner of the map, which means floppers will be in both players' inventories. 7 in Plague, so he can take this fight for as long as he wants to in the Storm. The only thing that'll be held back is his endgame overall power and loadout. Still rising all the way up. Players now not electing to shoot down fights, but keep the pressure up just so the shields can't be popped from their opponents. Now dropping slightly to make it an even playing field. He finally tracks Jamper in a box, and the edit bait is there. The big pump lands as well. No SMG to follow up, though. It'll be a burst AR he has to work with.
It all comes tumbling down for a moment, but that also gives Jamper the space to back off. Still hasn't got that heal off, but yeah, it does have to get aggressive because he knows that Plague is not going to let him go, and man, that hurts for Jamper. Getting pushed so fast over and over. And he's just on the cusp of qualifying after day 1, and somebody who's actually been kind of on a tear because week 1 for him was very, very solid. And then this week in general was good for him too during the Cash Cups. He placed in the top 4. of the Duos Cash Cup. Plays fairly well in the Solos Cash Cup too. His teammate Paper. They're both kind of middling here today. Not today, but yesterday. So hopefully we'll see if they can carry on through. Posick in a fight. A big shot. He gets in. And that's something that we saw his teammate do in the last game. You remember Niddle with the minigun try to get into a box and get punished for it, just like Posick did there. Jakiski will win that fight out.
Jakieski, a person who's been playing with so many different partners and so many different groups of people as well, has probably had the biggest and most diverse learning experience when it comes to figuring out exactly how he wants to play. One of his first partners ever being Young Calculator himself. Now Jackie will look to take out Posick and move on even more. But a person who's kind of just risen up recently, Durant, who's been taking both Cash Cups by storm and weeks and weeks of qualifiers. One of the aggressive players. I like to pair him up with Furious RR a lot of the times in terms of play style. And we know that if he sees a little bit of trouble next to the zone, he's not going to let it up. A person you do not want to shoot or get aggressive with, Durant will hold you in the zone. 2 Slurpfish, he has time to as well. This fight's going to start up and break down.
It does, and he catches him in the box, but a quick escape from the other side. Heavy snipe, though, is there. But the wall replaced to the stairs to force this into a very uncomfortable position for Mouse. And he gets trapped, baited into the box. But it's poison for Durant.
And now he's going to move straight forward. We're going to get an overview as to exactly how his journey is going to be rocking in towards this side of the map. Heavy sniper in tow as well. On a player like this, just note, usually we see heavy snipers used a lot, especially at this portion in the game, to go for long-range snipes. What I've seen Durant do sometimes is just identify someone's there, not give away his position, and get close to be able to box fight in a very surprising way. Open up with an AR, but then answer with that heavy sniper once people try to close the door. Someone else who I also got a very rude awakening to recently is Weigel. Tuning in with him during practice from a lot of zone wars. He was just winning round after round. When it comes to overall play as well, he's been placing high so far in the competition. When it comes to holding height, he's really good at it. The question is, can he do it in box fights during mid-game, or is end-game the only place where he has that type of special strategy?
And these games are tense, quiet. Not necessarily as aggressive as EU, but man, all the more interesting because of it. Zeke was talking about jitters. Yes, that might be the case, but NA East always brings it in terms of stackness, in terms of congestion, in terms of chaos as we get down to it. And dirty with it. 68 players in second zone. As it moves and as it closes, you can see the spread. Tifu in this game. Leroy is still up. The mobile player that we touched on earlier. Animal in this game. Coop, who had a massive performance yesterday. And we will tune in with them. A quick look, a quick glance at his inventory. He's got the AR that he uses so well at long range, getting people out of the sky, but also the fish potential there.
He's absolutely gated, though, with this loadout. Not that much ammo to work with. Floppers really only, used very well towards endgame. They're kind of tempting to save, but this loadout's also very good for box diving. He could be open to going straight towards any type of wood brick box, but all around him is just metal. And all around him, too, if you just look over, Kanata, Feared, Tilt, Animal. Everyone's just boxed up and waiting for the next move to be made, for anyone to just make a single edit.
All quiet. Meanwhile, a couple people stuck in zone. Oh my god, me too. Who we saw last week have a couple of notable performances in games, but it was on the backs of things like this. Storm fights and aggressive plays, box dives, aplenty. Just find a med kit, or at least time to use a med kit, and then the boat as well, where you can get in, but and actually opt not to use the boat because it's not that far, but and he has the river to actually work with Definitely wants to go a little bit quieter. There's a player in the bush, though. Getting very close, dangerously close to Easy Rog here, and I'm wondering what's going to come. Is it going to be a big tag? No, he misses both, pretty much. Only a scratch on me, too, and like that, the itch goes right back. A big tag that will maybe force him back, and yes! Big play from Oh My God, Me Too, and a missed opportunity from early ROG.
It has to be the henchman effect. Every time we get to the agency, the person on the lower end of these fights is just missing shots in weird positions. And they're always surrounded by other henchmen who are doing the same, looking like AI sometimes, but don't want to discredit them too much. They'll bounce back in the next game. For these guys in their POV, they still have 9 more games to play when taken out now. So their competition, although ending today, is only just getting started for the day. Spicy will look to keep things cool before they get super hot with this RPG, which doesn't actually leave the chamber just yet. There it finally does. The combination of shots is there. A white HP tag. He smells an easy elimination. He picks it up. It's Apex Scar that goes down.
And Spicy's a name I haven't seen in ages when it comes down to competitive Fortnite. He's here, though. And 5 points today. I'm curious where he was yesterday. Look at that back bling. Very nice. The one elimination onto Scar, who I believe actually was paired up with Spud Light, if I'm not mistaken, who were the console track winners of FNCS duos. So no easy task at all, but Spicy, a veteran of the game for many different skirmishes. I believe in trios, qualified through into the grand finals before taking a leave of absence from comp. If I'm thinking of the right guy, it could be somebody different. It's not a very uncommon name, and the player jumps on top of the one floor. Spicy had it out to edits, and he will chase him down. White HP on the backside. Hold on, this is a different entirely, unless there was Slurpfish exchange because there was shield then on Zuni's. But it doesn't matter for Spicy. He'll eat right through it no matter what.
He's trying to hold that Luke strong, or the loot strong. That ramp is the only thing saving all these mats from dropping down, because usually they face right through when the floor is broken. No chance for that player to have an easy pickup of materials. Spicy will try to quickly move them over, has to split materials fast, but doesn't get a chance to do so immediately. Remember, this box was Zuni's, not his. I believe that player down below was the one that escaped before. Yes, it's Will Guo, so that aggression led to Zuni's demise, and now all the way in the distance from that fight, slightly towards the east, it's going to be Durant once again into another box. That strat I was talking about, keeping that heavy sniper hidden for these moments, will shine true. And instead of actually finishing things off, he'll hold this player all the way to the top, because these guys will have to rotate within the next minute.
A change actually recently of the edits sound going through will make it so that Durant will put a little bit of misdirection when he recognizes that Rihan is tracking him with that sound. So he goes up, edits the stairs, then comes right back down with a heavy snipe in. Perfect play from him. And sometimes it just takes that. It's not always ping. The mind games come into play often in these fights. Durant makes it work, gets the loot, and starts to move out. But I don't think he got what he wanted in terms of materials from that fight, because he was down at 50 before, only going up down to 70. Might be rough for him going to the end game, but with the heavy snipe possibility, he could still move forward. Leroy with another pickup onto Magnolia. And there's two mobile gamers now that I'm tracking, both Leroy and Will Guo. If I remember correctly, I saw take out Booga in the early instances of this game. So, both players showing up on this one. Kanata up on top. Probably one of the best positions I've seen in the zone, but center of fourth means he will have to move. And it's not as high as I thought, as there's players right below the flat hill up on top. I'll make it so that he can't really do much off of this, and I guess he does end up getting beamed from the back. Players have advantage on him.
Now it'll all be about these long-range beams. Mami gets taken out by Kanata. And you might be wondering, things are still way too quiet. Yeah, Surge is alive, but people aren't getting too stir crazy for it. That's because throughout this entire game, people have been keeping their distance, looking for tags. Most of these guys in the lobby are way above Surge. There's just maybe a few, one or two players. Avery might be one of them, going for a big box dive and winning it to get a bit of more context onto the game, there's Stretch, Punisher, who are both here next to Tfue and Durant. Jack as well as in this game.
Just a real quick clarification. The Stretch with the X is not the Liquid Stretch that we're thinking of. It's two different players. Just if you're first time watching this FNCS Invitational, it's somebody of note for sure because he's actually placed top 80 in multiple of the weekends. Last weekend, I believe, and then now on day one yesterday, he was there. He was playing. But it is not Liquid Stretch who sits at the top of the leaderboard right now.
And while everyone tries to rotate early on, the real action will start in just a few seconds. When everyone else has to launch pad all the way to this side of the zone, which once again is influenced by low ground rivers and water, although very close to those natural fields of Frenzy Farm and Risky Reels. It'll be Clarity G, who's caught on rotation immediately. His loot gobbled up by people up at low ground. And while everyone else moves in, Wiggs is distracted by how the server is developing. He's trying to make his next plan at the cost of free eliminations from beams. He's just looking at what everyone else is doing around him and the weak spots in people's builds.
Potential for those to appear. As launch pads go across, as players try to make their rotation, there's definitely going to be a few lost. Fellows in this one. Punisher got taken out. Wiggs with a nice long-range shot onto, I believe, is Panito from Team Timbers. Tilt also picked up one. And I'm wondering who else is up on high. It's Thresh. Jack in this game. Still Tfue and Legetian up. Animal as well. And Wiggs going for another one. With the help of others. Somebody has been selected to leave the lobby. And we'll see if it's actually going to go down. Durant on the Stretch as well. The Stretch. Although not the Stretch. Confusing, I know.
One person who's not really confused as to what's going down right now in this game, you mentioned him, is Thresh. He sees all and knows all. Around everyone on the server. Thresh also kind of sounds like Stretch, so maybe people are still confused. But Worm with Coop, that'll be easy to track and follow. Remember the skin, remember the shotgun aim. If you haven't seen it yet, you're about to. He's going to be connecting real heavy and hard, actually waiting, I think, for someone else to launch it. There's one beside him, but I don't think he's going to be able to find it in time. This is the effect sometimes, the whole entire server using these community launches. You'll be able to walk in free, but if it looks too good to be true, it usually is. There's too many people down here right now, and Coop suddenly frantically starts to move around, looking for ways to expand on his layers. There's that big pump I was talking about. 120 on a Ravis Scott, getting muted, completely silenced. Now Coop starts to move over lackadaisically, but it doesn't matter because this pump just covers up any mistakes he can make on rotation. Another quick plus 100 damage pickup for Coop. 2 eliminations to start off his game all the way towards the end of it. He's still trying to break in, only 100 match, needs a huge refresh, finds a fight all the way at the side of the zone. Can Coop make things work here? Recharge the battery, that's aggression, because right now, this is just desperation I'm seeing from him.
Yes, it is. 6 builds still. He's trying to play these old builds so smartly, and so far so good. Now up to the top 25 from a position he definitely shouldn't. And we've seen him in this time and time again. It's Jack who he takes out and gets a couple of upgrades too. More floppers and the legendary AR, but more importantly, materials. More importantly, room to build out his base in towards this end game and his lair that he now controls and now can play from.
Now he finds a new layer to operate off of. Still, though, very close, low to the ground. Coop has 1 flopper, a lot of minis, a lot of shields, but he's going to be very healthy moving forward into this. Looking back towards the zone, trying to make a painting of his own right now. It's actual art box to box. This man is accomplishing and putting on display. Another quick pickup, another loot pile to decide what he wants to get from, but he's feeling so comfortable. A pickup off screen, you don't even need to see it to understand what just happened. It's just Coop in his natural habitat, defending his home and making this game his own. Another flopper left. Now maximum max. Another quick pump. It's Tfue that goes down. Coop now, 6 eliminations. I think he's got the last 3 in a row just on the server. Who's his next target? Coop's looking for a little bit more. Now, head-to-head, face-to-face, he's going to get taken down low, needs to mini up again. But I'm confident he can find another.
And where is it going to be? Right in front of him. Yes, another massive pump on the Plague we saw earlier. Take out a player, now up to 7. There's still 5 for Coop to find. It's a possibility here for him to clean up the entire lobby because he is feeling it, and every single one of these pump shots is hitting for magical numbers that you don't quite always see unless you have the aim of a god. He baits one in. Yes, it's a full trap. No builds on this player. 120. The zone coming though. Yes, he connects on the Keox and moves forward. Still one more flopper available, but down to 46 HP. He's got to find himself a refuge moment to take these heals.
And now still the zone moving all the way over water. Not going to be a problem for Coop. While Weigel goes down, Coop picks up another. Now Crims is all the way the only person left who we saw before. Not really struggle in the early game, but, you know, was just having a nice time. He's going to have Coop at his front door, going for that insane build fight all the way to height. They have a little bit of insurance at the low ground. Coop, though, running out of materials. I think just trying to test Crims. Now has none. Goes for the quick shot all the way up top. Drops down to take a little bit of a swim. He's got his lifeguard vest on duty. Crims is trying to walk down to drown him out, but Coop is there with the big pump, but doesn't actually land. Crims cleans things up and looks good while doing it. A healthy amount of HP to live over with. The grappler secures high ground and wins out the game.
And we saw Crims at the beginning of that hanging out by the edge of the map and made quick work of that one elimination. But then we see basically Coop dominate throughout this entire end game. You see him from beginning to end of that hit massive damage pumps. But at the very end, it just barely fails him. But still, a good performance for Coop, who, Zeke, you have been typing furiously all the standings in the chat for us to really know what's going on. 69th place for Coop. 100 points on day 1, but that pushes him almost double what he had in day 1 off of one game, 80-some points.
Yeah, and I mean, the same can be said for Crims, right? Day 1, 155th place, 69 points, so he's well off on his way. Let's take a look at the standings, though. Now, do keep in mind, these are cumulative standings, so these will have points from day 1 and today so far in the broadcast. They are not final. Those will be posted later on social media. Scope, though, holding down first place. Right now, Shy, 226 points, 31 eliminations, no victory royales.
The winner's pattern kind of just continues here, 20 points ahead of the lead from everyone else, and they usually end up holding it out towards one of those later games. But Scoped is here to party, man, and we saw it, or didn't see it just yet. We saw a few of his friends do exactly what he was doing, but 31 elims, he's ahead of the competition.
And other two names that we watch, Roller and, of course, Coop on this page. Roller pushes himself up from 4th up to 2 so far. And then Nico falls all the way down to 6, who we saw actually fall early in the first game that we watched. After a solid performance from him, he saw his room to back over because we're only an hour in. The other names here on this page, Bizzle, Unknown, Commandment. Unknown hasn't fallen that far. Commandment, not either. But Bizzle moves himself up from where I think he was around 20th yesterday.
Take a continued look here. We got Graska, we got Illis. Let's hop on over to the top 30 right now. Yubble 2xe, Astonished, Furious, Zate, more Fishy impersonators, Hunt. They're out there as well with 132 points, being the current threshold to break into top 30. Don't forget, everyone, top 80 is what we're looking to make. And as I say that, we move on over to 104 points. As of right now, that is the threshold combined total we are looking to break. There's people out there, Trashy, who we just saw not too long ago. Avery as well was in that game. Zunies was eliminated. Jade. These are all people that are on the very edge of that bubble right now. It could take a simple misstep, a simple mistimed shot that would send them back into the lobby and leave them wondering if they're going to push through to grand finals.
I think one thing is that day 1 is essentially the space, or you're basically trying to build a buffer, because if you do that, then you have room to make mistakes like you're talking about. And then if you aren't there on day 2, you've got to have good games like we saw from some of the players like Trashy in that first game, getting 3rd place and pushing himself now up into the top 80. It's possible.
That's right.